three reasons that I think entrepreneurs don't need money to start. My uncle passed away about 2 months ago. And in my family, very staunch part in Zulu as we are, there are a very specific set of customs that we follow at the passing specifically of an elderly man. So we were together as a family for a week. You know us? I don't know if you know this. For black people, a funeral is not an event. It's an occasion. So my uncle passed and spent the week. On the Saturday came, we buried my uncle. And we had this thing, which my people are particularly wont to, called after tears.
Yeah.
When I wrote it in the blog, I don't think people understood what I was talking about. After tears is an expression, and what it speaks to is how we celebrate the person who's passed. And we have a very specific way of celebrating. Now, it's different community to community, and admittedly, the more urbanized communities, the more unruly it becomes. But the idea behind it is we're supposed to celebrate the person we've just buried. And so it was during the after tears, and I'm a teetotaler, so I don't drink. During the after tears, these 4 young boys, probably between the ages of 8 and 10, came to me. They say, Babungan, me, please, can you give us 5 rand? So what do you need the 5 rand for? No, we just want to go and buy some sweets. I said, let me understand, you want 5 rand to buy sweets? He says, yes. I said, I'll give you a bet. Go to any other elder, ask them to give you 5 rand. And if you raise 5 rand from them, I'll match the investment you raise one-on-one. Make it 10. And he says, sure, I got it. Yeah, no, sure. It says, genala. For those of us who don't know, genala is black for a contract. This is a shareholders agreement. Take you to court for genala. So anyway, they disappear for about 2 hours. 2 hours later, they come back with 5 rand. It's just admittedly scrappy. It's 20 cents here, 10 cents there, a rand here. But it's 5 rand completely. So he says to me, right, here's 5 rand, it's 4 of us. Can you give us our 5 rand investment? And I go into my wallet to look, and I realize that I actually don't have 5 rand, I've got 20. So I said to him, I tell you what, okay, I tell you what. What do you want to do with the money? And he says, we just want to go and buy some sweets. I said, here's the deal. I will give you another 5 rand. Make it 10. And when you buy the sweets, you're going to eat them? He says, yes. I said, if you go buy sweets for 10 rand, come back and sell them. At whatever money you sell them at, and whatever you make, I will give you that in equal number. In other words, make $100, I'll give you 100. Sure. Yeah, get out. Same story. So I went to my younger brother. My younger brother's name is Vusi. And so I said to my younger brother, give them 5 rand. He gave them $5, and they disappeared. Went off to the shops. 4 hours later they came. Had the initial 10 rand I'd given them, or had the 5 rand of which they'd raised, the other 5 I'd given them, and an additional 26 rand in profit. So let's be clear about what happened. They started with an idea. The idea was, ask Uncle Vusi for money to buy sweets to consume. Through a process of trying to help them understand that actually their own needs are needs that a broader community has. And that if they service those needs, they can create economic opportunity. They went from being beggars of 5 rand to business people with 36 rand in hand. Right? Yeah. So we speak about entrepreneurship and how to teach it. At the heart of it is just that. So here's my point. Money doesn't make money. People do. Money doesn't make money. And the problem with people who go out into the market looking to raise funding so they can start businesses is they think once I have the money to start the business, then I can start the business. It doesn't work that way. If there are no conditions attached, there can be no performance expected. Fact. The human condition is it requires a set of criteria for it to perform. So if we give to the person without any expectation of performance, how dare we turn around and then say, but you're not succeeding? Well, it's because we didn't expect it, you see. We gave you free money. And of the instance that it's free, means you never had to perform for it. You didn't have to prove yourself. There is something about a lack a lack, wanting. There's something about it that makes the people who want become innovative, smart, and creative. There's something about not having access to that forces us to think about how do we create when we don't have access to it. Perhaps one of the most iconic business leaders of the South Africa before the one in which we live, particularly in the black community, is Maponya. Now, a lot can be said about Dr. Maponya, but one must give credit to a man who was able to build a business the size of which he built when it was literally illegal to do it. And one of the lessons we draw from Dr. Maponya was how innovative he had to be in building those businesses. So he had leases in white areas, suburbs, and CBDs when it was illegal for black people to do it. Of course, he didn't put the leases in his name. He was innovative. He found ways to do it. A lack of access drives innovation. When you don't have money, you find a way to make money, to access the money you need. And the challenge around us wanting money to start businesses is then we don't get into the rigid discipline of forcing ourselves to be innovative. So in the early days, when I started my business, I always knew, by the way, this is interesting, I always knew that I wanted to end up in venture capital, not private equity, but venture capital. And there's a huge difference between the two. But I also knew that the thing about capital markets, space I work in, where people give you their money to invest on their behalf, is they don't do it based on how well you speak the Queen's English or how nice your business plan is. They do it based on one very simple thing: track record. If you don't have a track record, you don't even get the meeting. Chris Gardner, in his book, The Pursuit of Happiness, and the movie sort of skirts over this, speaks about how he always wanted to own his stock brokerage firm, but he knew that it wasn't his inability to raise money to start his own brokerage firm, was that nobody would take a meeting with him because he knew nothing about the industry. So what did he do? He went and got a job in the industry and built a track record. The point I think many of us miss is nobody said the track record has to be particularly flamboyant or boisterous or fancy, not even uber successful. It's just a track record. Show me you've done something, that you've applied yourself for a period of time, and that you created a positive return out of what you've done. That's all it is. So in the den, this young man pitched a business called eShip. And eShip is nothing more than Uber, but for moving companies. Built by a young man, 19 years old. 19. Vinny and Gil gave him 6 million. His only track record, he's 19, never run a business. His only track record was his dad owned a shop. And this is the part that they edited out. You didn't see it when you watched it. His dad owned a shop, and he used to do his dad's books. And his dad's business was a sporting goods store. So they sold sporting attire, specifically golf attire. And when we started asking him questions, he knew how many golf balls his dad sold, at what margin, at what weight, the weight ratio to margin. He knew how many t-shirts, when the t-shirts sold. He knew the brand of the t-shirts. He knew when they stocked the Callaway versus when they stocked the Tiger brand, because those move at different times to different consumers. He knew all of the information up here. So just to be clear, he raised a 6 million rand funding for a business unrelated to the business he has knowledge in. But what he demonstrates is an ability to appreciate the detail. So what Vinny and Gil funded wasn't the business, it was the track record. When I needed to raise capital, by the way, this is how I did it. I was saving money every month, and then I started taking the money I was saving and putting it in securitized instruments. Simple, fancy, it's fancy English, but very simple. What I was doing is buying instruments on the stock market. Why? Because they're tradable. And when I needed to raise capital for what was our second business, which was a food business, and that brings me to my next point. This thing people have about do a business you're passionate about. Yeah, it's nonsense. Do a business. It's funny how passionate you become when there's a profit. Profit brings passion. I'm passionate about this thing. Was Bill Gates passionate about computers? I don't know. I think Bill Gates is passionate about the things that the Gates Foundation is doing. I don't know if he was ever passionate about writing code. And I think we're making a connection on two things that are unrelated sometimes, you know? So anyway, we had a food business, and this is where I made my money, is we built our food business and we stole a very large client from a company that was co-owned by VetaServe and Bidvest. And after we stole that client, they came to us and said, we want our client back. And I said, well, we want the client, take the business, and they bought it for us at a ridiculous multiple. So that's how I made my top. Not a lot, but it was a little bit I say not a lot because I don't know if there's anybody here from SARS, so. The challenge I had when we were building our food services business was I went to all the large retailers and wholesalers and asked them to give us credit facilities, and they wouldn't do it. They just wouldn't give us credit facilities. We didn't have a track record, etc., etc. And at the time, I didn't have a property, so I didn't have anything that they could use as assets. And then I said to them, hold on, you know, I've got an investment portfolio just of stocks I own. It's not worth a lot, it's about 800,000. Can I use it as security to get the stock? Now listen to this. They said yes. 4 of them said yes. So just to be clear, I used the same instrument 4 times. 800,000 in investment portfolio. I went to KitKat, Jumbo Cash and Carry, Metro Cash and Carry, and Trade Center, and all of them gave me 800,000 Rand. So in other words, I took my 800,000 and I multiplied it by 4. Why? Because I could have taken the money and done other things and consumed it, but at the time I was saving it, I didn't understand what it would do for me in the future. And this is a part of the psychology we need to get into. Fund yourself before somebody funds you. Prove that you can put your own numbers in the kitty. If you're working, quit. Take the pension fund money, put it in your business, and lose it. And then go to a funder and say, I just put 500,000 Rand of my pension fund into this thing. I need more money. Why are you laughing? So the second point, a lack of innovation. A lack drives innovation. If you don't have, that's what is your advantage. Start finding ways to make the money. And then my third reason why I think entrepreneurs don't need money is I think we take too long to start. And we create too many excuses to start. You know, I love people who go, you know, I've got an idea, but I don't know when to start, you know? Should I start on Monday or Wednesday? In the entrepreneurship journey, when you start is completely irrelevant. Irrelevant. Unless you're working in specific sectors that are time sensitive. So tech is one of them. If you got into tech in the early 2000s, it would have been the wrong time to start. But I'm an honest believer that when it comes to entrepreneurship, it's not timing the market that's going to make you successful, it's time in the market. When you start is not important. It's simply having the discipline to start. So when I began asking a question, how many of you here have a business? And how many of you have a business idea? Well, here's the real question. For those of us here who have a business, and those of us who are running it part-time, and those of us who are not doing it at all, what's stopping you? What's the problem? Fear? You know, fear is very real. So what are you afraid of? Failing? Now let me help you. You're going to fail. Is that good? Move on. What I found, and I offer this with humility, please. The things you're afraid of in this journey of entrepreneurship are 99% probability will happen. So if you're scared of losing your car, get ready. Find out when it takes the links. Just find out. Find out. Right? If you're scared of losing your house, well, take your pension money, put it in your house. Give yourself time, grace time. But the point is, if you're scared, 99% of the things you're scared of will happen. Have I failed? Yes. Been blacklisted? Yes. Bankrupt? Absolutely. And it's so nice to be bankrupt. You know how nice, people, I don't know why people are scared. You know, it's very nice, guys. You guys don't understand how nice it is to be sequestrated. Because it means own SaaS fuck Texas and college people are running tax. I'm like, tax for what? For what? You guys pay, I eat your tax. Right? The things you're scared of will happen. And in your mind, what you've got to get ready for is not what do I do if they happen. It's what do I do when they happen. Because they will happen. You will fail. Specifically for those of us who are young and married, it's going to get tough. It's going to get shaky. It's going to get really rocky. Now I was lucky I have a wife who believed. There were nights she did not believe so much. And I've really been humbled that you all came here thinking I have something of value to say, and I hope I do. But at the heart of really what I wanted to say is if you think you need capital to start a business, you don't. And if you use that as a precondition to start your business, odds are you never will. If you're scared of failing, you're right. Odds are you will. But it is not failing that should define you. It's having the spirit to get up again, to try, and to try harder.